Hi everyone, my name is Akita Akari Aurora, and welcome to this week's GeneKey number 32. Its programming partner is number 42. GeneKey 32 is the gift of preservation, the shadow of failure, and the CD of veneration. Richard Rudd says, as we listen to the great wisdom of our ancestors and of the indigenous tribal cultures, we will once again find our current inner spirit. Our correct inner spirit. My wisdom story. My younger brother and I were both trained in the sacred medicine tradition. We lived side by side in the rainforest, each with our own simple camp. We always shared everything we had and served the same local community until a foreigner came to one of my brother's ceremonies and was so transformed by the experience that he spread the word far and wide about my brother's healing powers. Soon people started flying in from all over the world to work with my brother. At first, I was happy for him, but over time, I watched his small camp turn into a retreat center and watched him travel to distant countries to share our medicine and tradition with strange people who knew nothing about our ways. He brought back objects and healing practices I didn't recognize. Even the way he pruned, weeded, and brewed the medicine seemed new. His plants thrived in ways that made me feel uncomfortable. A constriction and anger took hold of my chest. I believed this was because he was betraying our ancestors, and that it was my own job to preserve the traditions. When my students showed curiosity about my brother, I acted like a true fundamentalist, forbidding them from visiting his center, warning them against his tainted ways. When my brother reached out to me with gifts, I refused them until he gave up. My community shrank like my heart. Slowly, my medicine began to lose its potency. My prayers stopped working. The animals stopped communicating with me. I felt disappointed. I was as cut off from the great creator as I was from my brother. Sensing my soul suffering, he reached out to me one last time. I was shocked to see the pain in his eyes. It had never occurred to me that his soul was also suffering. He had been missing me, my love, and guidance, and he feared I had rejected and disapproved of everything he did. It was then I realized that my own fear of failure had blinded me to my brother's humanity. I took his hand in mine, and ever since, we've been each other's teacher, student, and best friend. Our community and medicine are thriving. Interesting word. I just was having a huge conversation about the energy of surviving versus thriving. So it's interesting that that word ends this wisdom story, right? Because when we're in that shadow, of failure, we do not feel like we're thriving. But it's so important for us to step into the gift of preservation when we're in that moment or in that shadow of failure. So my gift to you, this may not make sense, but it is true. When you refuse to receive you are being selfish. If you truly long to experience success, then you must let go of the entire concept of success and failure. It is not your desire for money or outer recognition that you need to overcome. It is your fear of failure. I am here to encourage you to trust your instincts and reach beyond your comfort zone. The gift of preservation is all about preserving life itself, not just yourself. It requires that you learn from and ground yourself in the wisdom of your ancestors. I love that. I'm going to repeat that. Life itself, not just yourself. Preservation is all about life itself, not just yourself. It requires that you learn from and ground yourself in the wisdom of your ancestors. It also asks you not to be afraid to learn and invest in something new or to receive from those who inspire you. It's time to look at your life and determine what and who are worthy of your energy and good for the whole. See what you want to keep alive and honor that with your whole heart. I just love this GeneKey. I love it coming in now we're in the middle of the eclipse energy. We had the lunar eclipse this week, and then at the end of the month we're gonna have the solar eclipse. I think it's on the 28th of October, I think. So we're in this eclipse soup. And it's bringing up everything for us to really look at and to answer that same question. It's time to look at your life and determine what and who are worthy of your energy and good for the whole. See what you want to keep alive and honor that with your whole heart. And even on the collective scene, isn't that really where we are with humanity, all of us, as we watch what's going on around us, and responding, saying, hey, what do I want to keep alive? Do we as humanity keep on wanting to repeat this cycle? Or do we as humanity want to step into a new cycle and honor that new cycle with our whole hearts, with all of our hearts, and honoring all of our hearts in this new cycle, even more importantly? All right, so let's get into the contemplation section. Questions for contemplation. Where are you flourishing in your life? What or who could use even more of your care, energy, and investment? Great question. Where do you feel like a failure? Are there ways in which you have been isolating yourself? Do you tend to mistrust those who are different from you? Use your instincts to know who your true allies are. I'll repeat that. Use your instincts to know who your true allies are. Find a place in your life where you've been resisting change. Write down what you appreciate most about how things are. Then find a way to breathe new life and spirit into the old routine. Great questions, especially, like I said, to do during this eclipse mirror or this eclipse corridor from the solar eclipse we just had on Saturday to the lunar eclipse we will have on the 28th. All right, and this GeneKey 32 of preservation, it goes from October 14th to October 19th, and it's called the Ancestral Reverence. The archetype is the guardian, and the guardian is grounded once again in the wisdom and reverence of his ancestors. Its partner is GeneKey 42 of non-attachment. And just look at that, preservation and non-attachment. It's a beautiful relationship there. We preserve, by not being attached. Isn't that interesting? So in order to preserve something, to preserve life itself, we must let it go and let it be free to flow, right? As the wind brings in some beautiful breeze. All right, and as I say, the dragons and unicorns never disappoint. So they got a message for you. And interesting stuff. I observed some stuff as I was preparing this GeneKey. Usually, we have a masculine and a feminine, which I love about this deck. The GeneKey cards usually has a masculine energy and the feminine energy just partners that way. But I realized with this one, and this is the first one that I've experienced this way, where both of the cards are holding masculine images. And I thought that was, interesting now as we look at the outer world and we see what's going on in the outer world, and it's being described as the unbalanced male having a tantrum, right? But we really have to, we have to deal with the tantrum. When a kid has a tantrum, you gotta set some discipline and lay down some new rules, right? So we're dealing with a lot of unbalanced energy, unbalanced masculine energy, and here comes in preservation, the shadow of failure, right? And non-attachment, GeneKey 42. And I thought, well, this is it. As we clear this out, as we face these shadows, as we face the shadow of failure, right? We will help to heal that unbalanced energy. And it's all tied into giving reverence to our ancestors, the wisdom of our ancestors, and that's how we preserve ourselves. So interesting stuff in the unicorns and dragons. Like I said, they don't ever disappoint. So let's get into some dragons. All right, and let's see what dragon came out for us to fly with. It's the Earth and Fire Dragon. It works with you to clear the fifth dimensional ley lines. Its message is it's time for service. When you give, you receive. And GeneKey's 32 message says, remember, this may not make sense, but it's true. When you refuse to receive, you are being selfish. So this GeneKey and this dragon really wants us to kind of like connect that give, receive, that flow of energy. As we give, we receive. And when we're not able to receive, we are also being selfish. So there's a flow, hand come, hand go, right? Relationship with that. That's how energy works, right? It's the fullness, the full flow and cycle of energy. All right, so let's get into these dragons. I love it. The Earth and Fire Dragon, especially because what is this GeneKey all about? It's about preservation and honoring our ancestors, right? The wisdom of our ancestors, specifically their wisdom. So let's look at the elements, the earth element and the fire element. And the first thing that came to me when I saw this was, I think it's 100, right? Because I just watched it a couple of months ago, and I just love it. From the earth we ground, and from the soil we rise. And this is all about our ancestry and the wisdom of our ancestry and learning from that, right? So we rise, we ground, but then we rise. And then what's that fire about? That fire is about transformation, change, and creation. That's what fire symbolizes. We create through that spark of fire to create something new. It allows the breaking down of something to, again, create something new and transformation, right? So this is about grounding in, but as well being able to change. And GeneKey 32 spoke about that, honoring the wisdom and the medicine of his culture, but at the same time allowing that new information to come in and learning and creating with that. So that balance, we're still in October, right? So that balance and harmony of honoring the past and the wisdom and the lessons, but allowing the new to come in and creating with what is new, right? And the wisdom of what we've learned. And like I said, the greater message of this, it's time to serve. So in the collective, wider eagle's view of that message, how do we embody that? Allowing the wisdom of our ancestors for us to be grounded in that, but also bringing in new things and serving the whole collective, right? So this dragon particularly wants us to really ground that in. And it's all about preservation. It's a beautiful, beautiful merge. Again, the shadow here is failure. The gift is preservation, and the CD is veneration, right? So really honoring that. So the ley lines, when I saw the earth and fire dragon, and it's about clearing the fifth dimensional ley lines, what spoke to me first was going deeper into the depth of ourselves and clearing out the past to better serve the now and the future. That transformation energy again, allowing this to happen. And look at what's happening all around us, right? As above, so below and within, right? So right now, the fifth dimensional ley lines are being cleared out by the fire of transformation. I mean, it's happening, right? And the work that we do underneath and in the underworld, and isn't that interesting that this is coming in within the eclipse energy? Again, we're in this eclipse portal from eclipse to eclipse, right? So we're shedding, and we're shedding to receive, So we're shedding the depths of ourselves, the old past and the wounds, going below. I wrote in the underneath and the underworld, and the underworld is it's actually what's closest to the sun. But when we go into the underworld, it's to do that deep inner work, right? To do that transformational work, right? So when we do that transformational work in our own underworld, what rises on the surface manifest, and that's where we're receiving, right? So in the GeneKey card, not in the GeneKey card, in the earth and fire dragon, you can see that spiral energy. So as we clear the ley lines below us, what rises up from us is beautiful and manifest, and that is how we serve, right? So the more clearing we do, so the story goes, or the book goes in to tell the story of the ley lines, and it says the original ley lines were called dragon lines, and they were maintained by the dragons of old. And when I read that, I started to really think of, and I've been thinking about this for a while, but it came, it was like a light. So I kept on saying that word dragon. I do this with words sometimes, and it's like, what's the root of this word? And I could be right, I could be wrong. It's just, but it works. So dragon, and I thought dragon, drag. And when we drag something, and when we drag on, it's like dragging something on and on and on. It's a nuisance. It becomes a nag. It's a weight. It holds us back. So the transformation of that, the heaviness, and I wrote a dragon is held back by its heaviness. It's unable to even use its wings because of the weight to weight of its tail, stagnancy. Its wings become useless. Thus, no evolution, no elevation or flight is possible. So when we let the weight of our past drag on and on and on, we are unable to fly like the dragon. Remember, the dragon has that long tail, but dragons also have wings. And as I study this dragon symbology and really tap into the energy of the dragon symbology and really what that means, for me, again, I say it's knowing your whole self and really seeing yourself beyond the physical. It's just that whole self, your spiritual, your physical, your mystical, your everything, and realizing how huge and big and powerful you really are as a being, a human being, which is such a multidimensional being, right? And when we tap into that hugeness of ourselves, we ride that dragon. We're able to fly. We're not held back by the past. So as we step into this moment, as we step into GeneKey 32 of preservation, and transformation, the fire, earth and fire dragon, we have to let this transformation happen so that we can fly, and to let go of the old stories. And again, it's happening all over the collective. We can see it. We are seeing the old story play out and people reacting to that, how they feel. Is this old story going to hold us back? How heavy is this old story? And it's in divine timing of the eclipse, right? The eclipse portals. So again, the story goes back to saying that now a new fifth dimensional ley line system is being put in place into the earth to carry the golden crystal consciousness energy to the new golden age. So as we as individuals clear our own lines out, our past out, and also go deep into the inner earth, and clear that stuff out for the collective, and help to clear these grids out within us and around us, we are tapping into that fifth dimensional energy. But as we release, we receive. And as we give, we receive. It's a cycle. Life truly is a cycle of energy. What you give out comes back to you. And we have to deal with it. And that is also what we're looking at on the earth realm right now, that everything is connected. So, and again, we are in a merge of timelines, so we can't just think that something that happened 50 or 60 or 70 years ago has no reverence and connection to where we are now. So that's why it's so important to really step into forgiveness and clearing out self-forgiveness and forgiveness of others, and clearing out our anger and the pain of these old stories and old timelines, because it will hold us back like that dragon with a heavy tail that it is not able to use its own wings to change its trajectory and go into a new direction. Okay, so the earth and fire dragon came out to really give us such a beautiful message. Right? So again, the earth and fire dragons, they move through these lines, creating a path of light through which the higher frequencies can flow. As we, the earth, go through the release and fires of transformation and change, we are creating the space for the new and higher energies to flow to us. As we release, we receive. The colors, tap into the colors. Orange, what does orange signify? For me, orange is transformation and creation. The green, for me, orange is prosperity and that heart energy. And the brown, for me, the brown represents grounding and strength and nourishment and protection and safety. I started to think of like wood, and the forest, and sometimes when we're in the forest, we can feel kind of scared. But even if we're scared, but we know, like, I can survive it. There's everything. Once there's some wood, I can make a fire. We feel like, hey, there's something here I can build with, right? So that safety and protection and nourishment and strength and grounding that, hey, I can work with this. I can build up from here. I'll be all right. And that takes some self-confidence also in knowing that, hey, I'm protected. And even though, hey, this is new, I'll get through that, right? So the orange, the green, and the brown, clearing out the past fears and stepping up into this fifth dimensional energy, right? And being of service to others. Anchoring, again, this is anchoring energy. As we travel along our own individual journeys, we can embody the fifth dimensional energy and help to share that out with others, as well as spread that out through locations. If you tapped into any of my attunements, especially I think the Mahatma one, did we spread that energy out? Or maybe it's one I'm working on that I haven't recorded yet. But it's so, as you do your meditation and you receive the beautiful energy, spread it out to everybody else. That's the beautiful the beautifulness of energy work. We work on behalf of others. We do it for ourselves, but we also do it for others. So there's a win-win situation. Everybody wins. And as we give, we surely do receive that energy back in so many different forms and ways, right? So wherever we are, we can distribute this fifth dimensional energy through our mindsets and through our hearts and how we communicate and relate with other people. It speaks about illuminating and highlighting the challenges ahead. So that kind of made me think about acknowledgement and awareness, right? So this earth and fire dragon, it's clearing out, but with that clarity, it helps you to see the challenge ahead. And again, remember that brown energy, 1330 coming in, that brown energy of protection and feeling, I can get through this nourishment and strength. So as soon as we acknowledge our fears, they will dissolve, so that energy again of highlighting the challenges, because they need to be brought to the surface, acknowledged, and then dissolved. Because when we keep things deep inside of us, we're not acknowledging it really. So we bring it to the surface, we clear it out, we deal with it, and it helps it to melt away, as opposed to keeping it in and stagnant. And that, that causes us stress, anxiety, and illnesses, so we got to clear things out of our body, face and embrace the shadow. And in this instance, we're talking about the shadow of fear and the shadow of failure. So as we are able to face and embrace our failures, and GeneKey 32 talks about success and failure. Again, this is a mindset. So when we get stuck in that shadow of feeling I'm a failure, we face that and we ask ourselves these questions, and we embrace where we are and we move forward. We use that orange energy of change and transformation, right? We accept. We're no longer in resistance. So when we are able to face and embrace, and this is all about what the GeneKey work is really looking at the shadow and realizing that, hey, once I face this shadow, I can then transform it into the gift energy. So we can go from failure to preservation really quickly. Not really quickly, but we can allow that transformation, that orange energy from failure to transformation, to preservation. So we accept what is happening, right? We acknowledge what is happening. We acknowledge our fears, and doing that allows us to dissolve it, because we're no longer in resistance. There's no longer this resistance energy coming from within us to face what is really in front of us, right? And it helps us to preserve ourselves again as well through non-attachment, not being attached to the idea of, hey, I'm going to fail, or I'm going to lose this, or I'm so attached to this concept or idea or fear that it makes me stagnant and I don't do anything really, and it just keeps me stuck, right? So we have to keep that in mind, right? And as we move through these moments, as we face our fears, as we acknowledge our failures, and we face our failures, and we come in alignment and observe ourselves, it allows more mastery, all right? So that shadow of failure shows up for you to move into more mastery, more self-mastery, move into more self-preservation, and move into more veneration, right? And again, this is all about the wisdom. If we could keep that in mind, the wisdom, being grounded in the wisdom of our ancestors. How huge is that? We are safe with the wisdom of our ancestors. We preserve humanity through the wisdom of our ancestors. I remember waking up one morning, I get prompts and I get prompts from when I wake up, and this is one of the messages, and it said, your ancestors are now your gods. And I've been meditating on that message for months, and when this GeneKey came up and I'm reading it, and I'm like, yeah, this is part of that, really that transformation, really honoring and tapping into the wisdom of my ancestors and that relationship that you have with your ancestors, and my ancestors wanted me to know that, hey, you know, treat us now like your gods, because that's how we're working within you. And I receive that and I welcome that, so to each his own, but that was just my little experience with my ancestry. All right, so that's the earth and fire dragon, and isn't it so beautiful? And supports so beautifully the gene key of preservation, the shadow of failure, and the CD of veneration. And I'll repeat Richard Rudd's quote: as we listen to the great wisdom of our ancestors and of the indigenous tribal cultures, we will once again find our correct inner spirit. Let's go into the unicorns. All right, and with this one, I got two beautiful unicorns, and I really was trying to figure out like which one I should use. And Spirit said, "Why do you have to choose? Use both." And I trusted that. And one came flying out, and when things come flying out, I'm always like, all right, you want to be here, so let's be here. And then, but I still felt the need to shuffle in and get the message through the shuffling. So we have two unicorns today, and when I looked at it, I understood exactly why I was being guided to keep the two that came through. So first, I'm gonna look at unicorn number 9, because it specifically supported the message of preservation. And then the second unicorn that came out was unicorn number 17. And that message really does support GeneKey 42, the partner of GeneKey 32 of non-attachment. So we will get into it. All right, so the first unicorn is unicorn number 9. Its message is to open your heart, love yourself, and dare to be vulnerable. Again, GeneKey 32 of preservation. So let's see how this lines up. There are, and for this one, I'm actually going to read a lot of the stuff directly from, for the unicorns, I made some notes with this one, but the other one, I think I'm going to just read it directly from the book, because the message is just so... it's just so beautiful. It just merges right into it. I could just say it directly. All right, so let's get into this one. Open your heart, number 9. There are 33, and that number keeps on popping up, right? There are 33 chambers in your heart chakra, all containing lessons of love. Your heart is open to the extent that you have mastered these. So basically, as we master these 33 chambers of our heart, we continue to expand, right? And that's one of the reasons why 33 is a master number, right? So it says that warm hearts and loving hearts enfold other people so that they feel safe and loved in return. They love you. So as we open up our heart, and remember, this is all in preservation. How do we preserve ourselves? Again, it's the preservation of life. Right? So we preserve life by opening up our hearts and loving ourselves and daring again to be vulnerable. And vulnerability is about being, for me, is about being open and transparent and intimate with other people in a safe way. We don't have to expose all of ourselves, but to have such an intimacy with somebody that you can be honest and truthful, right? And have a relationship with integrity, so being vulnerable is a big part of being loving and being loved, because we can't want the world to love us and stay in a very constricted heart space. We have to expand our heart. And again, as so we give, we receive. So the more we are opening up our heart and allowing our heart to activate and be in its fullness, we are able to give ourselves first and foremost so much love, and that love pours over to other people, right? So I got off course, but here we are again. As we open and feel free to share our feelings, we allow ourselves to feel vulnerable. People trust us and they feel closer to us. The card reminds us that being generous, the card reminds us to be generous and giving to ourselves. And it speaks about some actions that we can do or are required of us in heart expansion and opening up our heart and loving ourselves and daring ourselves to be more vulnerable. And it supports the earthen dragon, and it says dissolve any old hurts or blocks that we may still have. So again, going into the depths of ourselves and clearing out those ley lines, clearing out those chakras, and rising up from there to serve our larger community and serve ourselves better, right? So we must dissolve our old hurts and pains and blocks individually and collectively. It talks about self-appreciation. It talks about being kind to ourselves, allowing our hearts to expand through self-love and valuing ourselves and worthiness and dissolving our lower emotions so that we can allow our inner worth to glow. And that's how we preserve humanity. That's how we preserve ourselves, That's how we preserve the world, right? It allows us to be more compassionate to both humans and animals as we open up our heart. Again, how you love yourself, you're going to love other people. I always say that, when you observe people, observe how good they are with themselves, because they're not really going to be able to give you anything more than they're giving them of themselves. And no one's here to give everything to other people, and we also always have to keep that in balance too. How much we're giving of ourselves to others as opposed to giving of ourselves to that same quality and quantity of energy. Sometimes it's so easy for us to take care of other people when we're in the back playing victim, so we got to be aware that we're not doing that to ourselves. And if you are giving somebody 100%, you're giving them too much. You gotta have some of that for yourself, or do it in balance. You give yourself 100% and you give them 100%, but make sure they're giving you 100% back, right? So it also talks about seeing the loving essence of others and seeing kindness and being a beacon of unconditional love, right? It reminds us that open hearts create better friendships. They invite more support from the human, animal, and the angelic world. So again, as we open our hearts, we draw in more positivity and more goodness for ourselves, right? And that's just, again, a win-win situation, all right? And the message of the second unicorn is number 17. Go with the flow. It says relax and trust and to accept what is. Let me get that message quickly. And I thought this message was, again, so synchronistic with the message from the Fire and Earth Dragon, because the Fire and Earth Dragon is saying acceptance of our shadows and failures, acceptance of what is happening, And here it is again. Go with the flow, relax and trust and accept what is happening. Acknowledge, right? Acknowledge what is happening, embrace it and accept it. Have a deep trust that this is what we need to go through and get us to the next level of ourselves, right? So go with the flow. And in that non-attachment of going with the flow, we can release and let things go and trust that our future is just as brighter. Today I saw a hummingbird, and that is the message of the hummingbird too, that we can take these big leaps of life and trust that our new journeys will be more blessed and more safe and have prosperity and joy and all of the things that we are afraid of losing, or that cocktail of failure that we think if we change something that we will not access the success that really is there for us, So this is a big message about surrendering and trusting the divine order and timing of things, and reminding us to really have faith, to know that we are being held by the greater cosmic river and flows of life. Okay, so I'm going to read directly from the book what this message says. It says, life is like a river, sometimes racing and other times quiet and still. Right now, the currents of the universe are flowing in your favor. So relax, surrender, and allow the tide that you are on to carry you forward. If your life feels like a rushing torrent, enjoy the exhilarating ride. However, recognize that there may be submerged rocks, eddies, or even waterfalls to negotiate, and ask your unicorns to keep a protective ball of white light around you. Again, this energy of knowing that when we're going through unexpected stuff or new territory, that we are protected, right? So it says, if your life seems to be meandering along rather slowly, accept this too as a gift. This is what you need right now. So let go of any frustrations or boredom. Don't try to push ahead. Rather, take the opportunity to relax and enjoy the peace. Look at the beauty of the world as you drift along. Overall, your guidance is to trust the universe. Your unicorn is asking you to allow the wisdom of the invisible forces, your ancestors, of the cosmos to direct you. Know that what is happening is for the highest good. Swimming against the current would only drain your energy and inner resources. Again, that message of acknowledging, don't be in resistance, go with the flow, right? So if the energy is flowing this into change, then go with it. Flowing into something new, go with it. Trust the flow. The more your unicorn can steer you on your journey, you are being prepared for the next phase. Have faith that all is in divine right order. Hey, GeneKey 32 of preservation. It's such a profound and beautiful message. The unicorns, the dragons, where we are individually going through this eclipse moment, this eclipse portal, what we're seeing play out on the world, what it has manifested. And I think if we can really embrace these messages, we can really see clearly where we are collectively as humanity, and we can really take that leap forward and create something really beautiful. So I'll just end it with this, because it's, preservation, and say again with the unicorn's messages, have faith that all is in divine right order. I love you all. This Gene Key is from October 14th to October 19th. The Ancestral Reverence, and the archetype is the Guardian. Those who are grounded in the wisdom and reverence of his or her ancestors. Have a beautiful week, guys. I love you.